All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and kick this off in just about 2 minutes here. Looks like a couple more people are getting on, so just about 2 minutes. All right, we're going to go ahead and kick this thing off. First of all, thank you for getting on the call and welcome to tonight's webinar. Really excited to talk about tonight's topic, introducing the Alliance. I'm sure whoever's on this call and whoever got you on this call has already kind of told you a little bit about it. But basically, before I get into what the Alliance is and, kind of what we're doing and what we stand for, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about my story first. For me, I kind of started this whole thing. It's quite a long story, so I'm gonna make it as brief as possible. But I first heard about this whole deal. I'd say about 3 to 4 years ago. And what happened is my little brother kind of busted in my room, and he was like, "Hey, man, I got these drinks. We're gonna get BMWs. We're gonna be rich. Like, do you want to sign up?" And like obviously I was like, "What? Like, no, get out of my room. You're crazy." And so, I blew him off for a good 3 years. I made fun of him and made fun of his friends, and I really gave him a hard time. And then I'd say about, I don't know, a few years later, I was in my second year of college here at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I met a guy named Ryan Stein, and he was with the Alliance. And so, I didn't really know what he was up to at first or who he was. All I knew is that I showed up at 7 a.m. in my stats class, and he was also wearing a suit, and I was wearing a suit. And, so right away I'm like, hey, like, you don't see that every day. So we started hanging out, and about a month later, we go out on the weekend, and it was a rough morning, definitely a rough morning the next morning. And he calls me over, and he's like, hey, man, I got these hangover cures. Come over. And so I'm like, all right, well, what are they? And he says, yeah, don't worry about it. Just come over. So I'm like, I'm a little sketched out. I have no idea what he's trying to, bring me over for. But he brings me over, and then he whips out this healthy drink. And, right away, it's the same one that my little brother was dealing with. And I freaked out right away. And started bashing on him, started giving him a bunch of, a really hard time about it. And he's kind of listening, kind of entertaining me, just, letting me go on and on. And then finally he's like, hey, man, just give me my drink back and go home. Like, just go ahead and go be hungover. And it really made me think. I was thinking, I was like, man, like, I do feel like crap. I might as well give it a shot. So I gave it a shot. I tried it. Actually, I have never tried it before. I kind of think, I'm like, wow, I never even tried the drinks that my brother was trying to get me to try, nor did I even know how to pronounce the name. So the reason it kind of helped me out is, what happens when you drink is it flushes your liver of vitamins and things like that. And so what this is it's a vitamin supplement, has all your essential vitamins, minerals. It has mangosteen, which is one of the most powerful antioxidant superfruits in the world, aloe vera, and green tea. So it kind of just replenished my body, and right away I loved the taste of it. I told him it tasted horrible, but I loved it. And then I actually felt better. I was in denial. Like I didn't want to believe it. I was completely in denial, but I did feel better. About 45 minutes later, I told him it made me feel worse. So, anyways, fast forward 2 weeks, I kind of forgot about it. But 2 weeks later, I was in the same position again. And first thing I thought of when I woke up that morning was, oh, I got to get another one of those things. So, I went over to his house, and the first thing I knocked, and it was really embarrassing because I had to kind of swallow my pride. I was like, yeah, like I guess they kind of worked a little bit and tasted okay. Like I'll try another one, and I think he knew I was full of it, so he gave me another one. And I'm halfway through it, and I'm thinking like, hey, can I, I want these. Like, so I asked him, hey, can I buy these? Like, do I have to be involved with any type of business or anything like that? And he said, no, no, yeah, you could just buy them, like no worries. Like business isn't, for everyone, of course. And so that kind of got to me because obviously, I was a business major. Not that that really matters, but it really pushed my buttons. And so I was like, all right, go ahead, tell me about your business. I know you're itching to tell me about it. So he tells me all about it for about an hour. I'm really interrupting him the whole time and trying to prove him wrong. I couldn't. I was getting angry because I kept losing the argument and he kept proving me wrong. So I finally go to my dad because by the end of it, I'm actually kind of excited. Like secretly, I didn't tell him this, but I was actually really excited. I was like, well, wow, like this could get really, really big, but I can't lose this argument. So I went to my dad and I was like, hey man, remember that thing Dylan was doing? And he's like, yeah, like what was it, like Vema or something? I was like, no, it's actually called Vima. Like, have you heard of it? And he said, like I think so. I just never really took it too seriously. Like, I didn't take your brother too seriously at 15 years old. And so he said, let me do some research. So he goes ahead and does a bunch of research on it, calls me back 2 days later, and he's like, hey. And I was like, what's up? And he's like, did you do Vima? I'm like, no, I didn't do Vima. Like I wanted you to find I wanted you to find some dirt on it for me so that I could prove this guy wrong and then do it. Like I don't know what I was thinking back then, but I was going through some type of crazy loop. I don't even know what to call it, but he's extremely stubborn. So finally, he kind of just stops for a second and he says like, like what do you mean? Like what are you doing? Why are you going through this process? It's a business. Like you're going to business school. Like, what are you missing? So, I asked him like, what are you talking about? And he says he starts, unloading a bunch of facts on me. He's like, yeah, it's the second highest paying industry in the world. It's produced more 6 to 7 figure earners in any other industry. Warren Buffett called it one of the 3 best investments he ever made, which is network marketing. And he starts talking about. He sends me a video of Donald Trump on the David Letterman show, like national TV, talking about how if like he had to start from scratch, this is what he would do. And then, another thing he talked about is, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He started talking about that book and how the author of that book, which is New York Times bestselling financial advice book, he wrote another book called The Business of the 21st Century. And it's essentially about how, network marketing is the business of the 21st century and why it is. So he starts unloading all these facts on me, but for me, I didn't really care. Like I knew this, like I knew it was legit. I tried to do a bunch of bad research. I couldn't really find much on it myself. All I found was, blogs from a bunch of people that did it completely wrong and tried to blame the company. So I was looking, for something that I didn't know. And so finally he stops me. He's like, hey, like, so why aren't you doing it? You're obviously not listening to anything I'm saying. So like, tell me why you're not doing it. So I had to think of some good excuses because I knew like pride wasn't a good excuse, but I knew that was the only reason I wasn't doing it. So I had to think of some good excuses. And the first one, it's really easy to just say, like everybody does, is, oh, I don't have time. I was taking 20 units at Cal Poly at the time, so I was extremely loaded down. And I just told him, oh, I don't have time. And like he kind of laughs at me and he's like, yeah, like the thing is like you don't hear Warren Buffett saying he doesn't have time. He has 2,221 sources of income, and you have like 2. Like that, and that's more than the average person. So like, what do you mean you don't have time? Last time I checked, you guys both have 24 hours in a day. And, that made sense to me. So I had to think of another excuse real quick. So I kind of ran out and I just said, you know what, honestly, like all my friends back home, they're going to think it's dumb because like I was the guy that was making fun of it for like 3 years. So, I mean, it was kind of awkward for me to go back to them and be like, yeah, I did make fun of it for 3 years, but it's actually pretty cool. So that's what got to him. It kind of got under his skin. I think that I cared about that. I could feel him looking at me through the phone, just like, what, like. And so he brought up an analogy that changed my life. First, he said, like, obviously that's your fault that everybody thinks it's dumb. First of all, you made everybody think it's dumb. You could have easily showed them the good side of it. But the thing that changed my life, what he said was, he said, because I'm an MMA fighter, that's my sport. So what he said was, would you take advice from Tiger Woods on how to fight? Probably not. He's not a fighter. Like, Tiger Woods doesn't know how to fight. He's a great golfer, doesn't know how to fight. So, with all due respect to your friends, they're probably great people, great friends, great athletes and great students. But, if you're trying to learn how to make money, don't listen to them. They don't know how to make money. Why would you listen to somebody on how to make money when they don't know how to do it? And so, that really clicked with me. He said, like, your friends, if they're lucky, they're working for $12 an hour and their parents are paying their rent in college. If you want to learn how to not do that, which there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're trying to learn how to do something different than that, then don't listen to people that can't do anything different. It just makes sense. So, for me, that kind of changed my entire thought process. Everything that I was thinking up until that point just switched. It made it a lot easier to kind of swallow my pride. I ended up getting started, got my products in the mail. My first month, I thought I knew everything. I didn't want to listen to anybody on how to do it right. I just kind of went at it on my own and completely failed, had a really rough time. And I was wondering why. And, I tried to blame it on, I was like, Ryan, like, this doesn't work. Vima doesn't work. And he laughs at me and he's like, that's like, it's kind of like going to the gym, working out and, saying the gym didn't work if you don't get results. That makes no sense. So, that clicked with me. So obviously I was doing something wrong. So I wanted to know. And he introduced me to a guy named Sam Zartoshi, who cleared a 6-figure income at 19 years old. And I'm like, holy cow, you don't see that every day. So he's like, would you listen to him if I got him, to come down here and meet with us? And I was like, yeah, I would. Like, how do you know him? Like, that's weird. So basically he came down, he told me how to do it. And, in the next like 4 days after I talked to Sam, I was blessed and fortunate enough to get my first check, and it happened to be $40. Now the results aren't typical, and that was in a special promotional period with the company. But then again, like, I didn't consider my work ethic typical either. I went really hard. But what I kind of saw is that, like, it works. I was the same exact person the first month. The first month I used one strategy and completely failed. The second month I used a completely different strategy, being the same person, and succeeded like, a lot. Like, I had a lot of success in the second month. So now I just kind of realized the only difference between my brother and then me in that first month and then me now and then company is what they do, because we all have the same products, we all have the same compensation plans. We all start with $0 and 0 people learn our difference is us. So I eventually keep going, and here we are now. Right now I've reached the rank of diamond, and everything's going great. Going back to why I kind of did it, I think it was mainly because I would rather be the guy that says, I tried it, didn't really work for me, but I drank a lot of extremely healthy products and met some cool people, than to be the guy that was like, no, I never listened to that guy, and like, look at him now, like, wow, like, I had no idea that's what he was trying to talk to me about. I wonder where I'd be if I just gave that thing a shot. So, for me, regret scared me more than anything else. I'd rather, have the experience, good or bad, than to regret not doing it. So, I got started, but the main reason I ended up doing it, in terms of who I was working with, is because, I saw that the alliance was a whole different thing. It was a group of people that, empower each other, financially and mentally, physically, in a bunch of different ways. And they teamed up with this company with this 2-ounce shot of Vima. And if my roommates didn't steal them all, I would have one. They're definitely all gone. And what it is it basically started out with a 2-ounce shot of Vima. Okay, Vima stands for vitamins, essential minerals, mangosteen, and aloe. 65 plant source minerals, mangosteen, aloe vera, which has all your basic 20 amino acids in it. Which is, I mean, if you're into working out, that's right there. That's something that is on its own expensive in the stores. And so, but what the company realized, what the CEO realized, is that people our age, kids, I guess you could call them, between 18 to 30, for the most part, don't care about 2 ounces of anything unless it's alcohol, especially in the college demographic in general. So he said, how do I, because we don't really run downstairs in the morning, looking for our vitamins. So he said, how do I get younger people to care about vitamins, to care about their health? And since this is a network marketing company, which means they don't spend any money on advertising, they use their entire budget and spend it on affiliates. They don't that we use the bathroom during. They don't have YouTube ads that we 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 skip. None of that. What they do is pay people that can use word of mouth advertising the most effectively. And there's a lot of details on that, but I'm going to get into more why they came out with the products that they did. They needed to get this in the hands of younger people, because what happens when younger people care? Facebook, Instagram, Chipotle, all that was word of mouth, and young people cared about it. And there's hundreds of more examples, but essentially we're the most socially connected demographic in the history of the world. And for this product to get big, they had to get it in our hands. So the way they realize, okay, what do young people care about in general, especially in college, is caffeine, all different types of caffeine, anything. Like, it's the #1 drug in America right now. So whether it's Starbucks or 5-Hour Energy, they're using it to wake up in the morning, to if they're hungover, if they need to study, if they need to go work out, halfway through the day because they have the midday hang, at night because they're racing with caffeine, or whatever it may be. We're always consuming caffeine. So what he did was, he put that 2-ounce formula in a can. He added carbonated water and natural caffeine, called that Verve. Okay, and that's like our energy drink. I don't even like to say the words energy drink, because it's more of like a carbonated super juice. From there, they made multiple different flavors of Verve. They made a coffee, a tea, like an iced tea. They made a children's formula and a juice, which is really good for your hair, skin, and nails. It has 20 milligrams of silica in it. All these different. And what's more new and upcoming and a lot more impactful is the protein line, the fitness line, and the weight loss line. If you've ever heard of Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition by Chris and Heidi Powell, 8 o'clock on ABC, Tuesday nights. Basically what we did is we put these into various fitness products. One of them is called Body Burn. That's my personal favorite product. What it does is it has 1 ounce shot in it, and then what they did is they added in 20 grams of protein and then 7 grams of fiber. What that does is it makes you feel full. So now it's a meal replacement. Sorry, but then what they also EGCGs, which is a natural thermogenic, which speeds up your metabolism, and then something called CLAs, which makes your fat more water soluble and kind of falls off the meat a little bit easier. So this combination of things that really revolutionized the weight loss industry, we basically have the healthiest version of that. And so what they did from there is they made a cleanse. They made a what's called a body thirst, which is kind of like a Gatorade replacement. It just doesn't have all the sodium and the artificial flavors and all that type of stuff. And then, but what I think we're the most excited about right now, and it just launched about a month ago, is what's called the Body Build. Okay, it's easily the best of my life, and I've been doing combat sports and activities since I was 4 years old. And I've tried like so many different types of proteins, and hands down, this is the best tasting protein I've ever had. 25 grams of protein. I can't decide if it tastes like vanilla or cookies and cream, but it's extremely good. It's a lot more pure than all of the proteins that have a lot of these like secret ingredients that nobody ever looks at. So what I kind of found is I'm drinking these. I'm consuming protein. I'm consuming caffeine on a daily basis. So why not team up with this group of people, and instead of spending money on stuff that's never going to pay me, like Starbucks and whatever protein you drink, why not just transfer my dollars, spend it on something that I get a free business with? So that's kind of what happened for me. There's a compensation plan video So it goes over. It's a 5-minute video. It goes over all the details. It's called FEMA Compensation Plan 2014. So I encourage you to check that out. I encourage you to link up with us and hop on the next webinar with Alex Klott, Diamond Leader, at 8 o'clock. That's going to be really good if this is something that you might want to do. And then if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, 707-639-7767. But that's pretty much what I have to say about the whole thing. That's my story. And thanks again for hopping on the call. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you guys soon.